Hey, welcome back to the channel, you guys. I had some people here a while back ask me about carving a walking stick for them. And so I brought in a few different sticks. This one, as you might see, has the roots and stuff. This was a piece of driftwood. The only reason I even picked it up was it's fairly straight and it's a nice stick. I see sticks like this all the time with a little bit of the roots or something. This is not a great example, but I'll pick them up. I got probably 40 of them out there in the yard that I keep them once in a while. I'll carve walking sticks. Now, those red cedar sticks, the color that's underneath is bright red color. Well, let me turn it where the red shows. So this is actually a red cedar stick. And I'm going to carve a spirit face up here in this area where the roots were and stuff. I'll just have to figure out where, because you can see there's knots and stuff in there. This one has got grayed over. I took the bark off from it a long time ago, about this time last year. And of course, it's been sitting outside, so it's got darkened. But it's aspen. And the only plus about carving aspen, see, it's going to be white wood on the inside of it. See the color of the wood. The only plus about carving aspen, you guys, is it's a lot like basswood. It carves fairly nice. Now, this has dried out quite a while, so it's a little harder. Sometimes if I'm using aspen, I'll strip the bark off and carve it in the green wood, which it's easier to carve. But then you also end up with the possibility that whatever you're carving might crack as it dries. So in a way, it's better to actually start with a dry piece in the first place. That way, it's not going to crack on you. The most unique stick that I have here, you guys, and this is a pretty weird find. What's happened is this vine, see part of this vine sticking out right here? When the tree was young, of course, this was the other way around, like this. When the tree was growing, that vine began to twist up around this tree and was choking it off. So the tree began to grow oddly like that, around and around. I've seen them before when I'm out there picking up driftwood, but this is probably only the third or fourth one like this that I've actually found. And you can probably guess what it's going to end up being, is I'm going to do a snake up and around and up and around. Now, this one has some pretty bad cracks. I'm probably going to carve a snake's head out of a separate piece of wood and probably add it on to the top of here. But that's going to be a long ways down the road. Whatever kind of wood this is so hard that I tried carving it by hand for a while. I could not carve on it at all. This stuff is hard. So what I ended up doing was taking a little battery-powered chainsaw that we have, and I shaped this snake all the way up with that chainsaw. And then I kind of cleaned out where the original tree was in the middle. Oh, I probably spent 3-4 hours messing with this stick, getting this snake shaped in there. All right. So then I decided I was going to try to put some scales on this snake, see? Well, I have a little U-shaped wood burner thing that I could sit there and burn them all in there. But then the other night, I ended up taking a leather stamp that I had. I got it in these vice grips because that's how I've been using it. And I just got started. I was trying to find, well, here's a few. I don't think you guys can see them. But anyway, I custom ground the end of this leather stamp to make scales with. And that's my plans on this snake. I'm going to I got a metal mallet, and I'm just going to sit there and smack scales into this snake all the way up. you guys probably don't remember, but in that first little segment I shot about this, see, it had a big old crack and it was taller. Well, I decided that I was going to carve a snake's head separately out of a piece of basswood, and I am going to join it on the top of this walking stick. Back in the day, my cousin Dick Branson, he used to make tons of walking sticks and sell them down in the Branson, Missouri area. Well, he would take, for instance, where this is going to have a joint here and you're going to be able to see that the snake's head's not the same. Dick would take a piece of leather and go around the joint of something like that, and he would slice like fringe, out of the leather. And then he would take, these aren't the ones I'm going to use, but I got some little gold carpet tack things that are gold, and I'll tack them around top and bottom on the leather to hold it on there, to cover up the where this joint's going to be, to hold that snake's head on there. I've had that thing around forever, and I have been going to carve it forever, and I'm finally getting it carved. And, isn't it cool sometimes when you finally get something done that you've been going to do forever? Now, I have a hand planer thing, Harbor Freight. I'm not advertising for Harbor Freight, but that's where I got it. And I cleaned the wood off from these. Now, I don't know whether you guys can see this or not, but see this face? All right. With that same little chainsaw the other day that I was doing the snake with, I actually roughed in a bunch. I'll show you these other two here in just a second. But I roughed that face in with a little bitty chainsaw because these cedar roots, they're hard stuff. But I hand carved this one on in the other night, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I kind of like the way that he's looking up and everything. These I just got roughed in. See, I cleaned them off, and I have a belt sander out there, and I'm going to sand them a little. But, I almost decided, in a way, I kind of like the fact that they look kind of hewn, so to speak, hand carved or something. Anyway, look here. I actually chainsawed this one in this far so far. Now, I've not finished it. I'll finish it up like I did that one. But see, with that little chainsaw I'm talking about, I went ahead and roughed that face in with that. Now, two things about walking. See, I've done the same thing with this guy. Roughed it in with the chainsaw, and now I'm going to actually go in there and spend a couple of evenings carving on these two. Now, this was the aspen one, and it was old dark wood on the outside. Well, I thought just something real simple. I just done a little owl on the top of this stick. The aspen carves fairly well, and it's dry. But sometimes when you carve it wet, it carves better. But the trouble is sometimes they may crack or split on you too. So I finally came down to getting some of them finished, the walking sticks that we're doing. Earlier in this film, you guys might remember when I said something about Cousin Dick. My cousin used to use something like some leather and then use they make fancy upholstery tacks for like chairs and upholstery and stuff. Well, anyway, I was going to do something like that on this guy to cover up where I put them together there. But you know what? I messed with it a little bit, and I thought that it looked a bit hokey. In other words, yes, that used to look cool because Dick would put, this thing around some indent thing like this, and then he would take a couple of feathers. Now, these are wooden feathers that I've carved, but he would take real feathers of some sort that he would buy this stuff like the craft shop or at Michael's or wherever, you know, and he would wrap the tops of his walking sticks, and then he'd have a couple of feathers coming down, and maybe even instead of a snake, of course, he would have an Indian head or something that way. Other things that I wanted to talk about while we're messing with walking sticks is they are very, very good sellers at the shows. But they have their drawbacks at the shows. And I'm going to tell you one of them that always happened. We had a little barrel thing that we would set them down in at the shows. And of course, we would have 3-4 times this many in that barrel thing at the shows. Well, invariably, everybody that would come along at the shows, they'd be going, oh, and they're coming up out of the barrel and they're swinging it around in the crowd. And you got all your really nice carvings on the table, and you got some guys, or, you know, the people used to blame the kids for stuff. But I tell you what, the old men, they were worse about swinging stuff around. And it just got to be a hassle having them at my booth at the craft fairs. But now I will tell you this quick story. When I told you that one, is when the kids were little, and we would have a whole barrel full of walking sticks at the show, an outdoor show like Ponca City, Oklahoma, or somewhere, goofy little show we would go to. And we had 4 or 5 kids with us at the time. So if you really wanted to sell your walking sticks, you would give one to each one of your kids at the show and tell them to go walking around the show with that walking stick. They would tell people at the show where to come get the walking sticks. And that's a good strategy if you got a lot of them and a lot of kids. So anyway, that's pretty much what I wanted to say, other than, you guys, I did put the finish on some of these red cedar guys, and some of them I had cleaned off, see, all the way down to the bottom. I left the knife marks on them. I could end up putting another coat of, I'm using this, my favorite, I always use this stuff, wipe on poly, the warm satin. You don't have to wipe it on. I paint it on with a paintbrush. And anyway, you guys, these were hard carved, these cedar, horrible carving. And the snake one, remember I was going to put scales up and down that snake. I got to thinking of how long that would take, and I tried it for a little while, and I'm going, for whatever I could sell this stick for, it would not be worth the time to mess with all that. This stick here is just an aspen stick. It's real light. And I just decided to leave it natural with the little places where the limbs used to be and the bark halfway peeling off. But I did whittle a little bear here. He's pretty weird looking little bear. And then, of course, I showed you guys the other day the little owl I did not quite finish this stick yet, but little owl you could be doing or something. So anyway, thank you guys for watching our film on walking sticks. That if you enjoy the contents of what we're doing and everything, tell people about us. Our numbers are growing and we want to keep doing this. So we'll keep coming up with new subjects for you guys. See you next time on Woodcarvers Corner.